Welcome to the Expat Equation, podcast where we explore the human side of working abroad.
We're your hosts. I'm Julian Johns.
And I'm Bianca Tunan. And we're both experts and inclusion professionals. And through our work with candidate aid and culture flow, we've helped hundreds of internationals navigate global careers.
In each episode, we speak with internationals and the companies who hire them to uncover the real stories, struggles, and strategies behind building a life and career across borders.
Today's guest is Tom Miskin. Thank you so much, Tom, for joining us. We will hear about your journey today, about moving abroad, what it taught you, and what culture and identity shaped your career abroad.
Whether you're an international professional or someone working in HR, this episode is for you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, follow us wherever you're getting your podcast from and share it with someone who might need to hear.
Tom, welcome. Thank you for coming on to the show. I think we're going to start off briefly by who are you? What do you do? How long have you been in Norway? And maybe what triggered the move in the first place?
Lots of questions. I'm Tom Miskin. I am head of partnerships at a company called Oslo Co, which is business development, international profiling company for the city of Oslo. I've lived in Oslo it's actually 17 years, which is crazy. And lived here since 2009. Had several sort of sub-careers before the job I have now, so we can talk a bit about that perhaps. And now live here with my partner and two young children.
Amazing. And what was the inspiration for thinking, Norway is the place to live? And
Well, my story is maybe it's a little bit different. My grandmother was Norwegian. She moved to the UK when she was 17 or 18 to be an au pair, which I don't think would happen too much now, but in the 1950s, I think it was, that happened. So she lived in the UK for the rest of her life, but she had a hytte, a cabin in Norway. So she used to come here for summer holidays. And then when I finished university, I was like, I didn't really have too much of a plan, but I like skiing. So I was like, okay, I'll try skiing in Norway. So I got a job in Hafjell.
Yeah, super.
Worked there for 6 months, skied every single day, had a great time, met lots of really fantastic people, and never really looked back.
Amazing. That's one of the more free-form ways of coming into Norway.
Yeah, I mean, I was 22. I'd worked a little bit in England. I've been to university in England, but I was kind of taking a gap here, I guess, after university in England. I don't know. I think I told my parents at least I was going to work out what I was going to do, but I didn't really. But I definitely met a lot of people, and was enough to like make me want to stay.
Yeah.
So I had a little stint back in London after Hafjell, and then I moved here permanently in January 2009.
I'm very curious, how was the job search? When you moved here, was it easy to find a job? Maybe first time was a bit easier.
So I guess I had no responsibilities. I was very sort of young and naive. So essentially moved here. I knew some people that I'd met in Hafjell, and one of them introduced me to a school where I could potentially teach some English. So I started doing that, and then in the end, I ended up being an English teacher at barnskole.
Super. Wow.
For 5 years, and working in activity at school and life. And that was actually, for me, at the time, it wasn't what I wanted to do as a career. But I'll do this for a year or so, then I'll get a job. I've studied political science. I wanted to work with political science. But I was happy. I had a great time, met loads of interesting people. And I think most importantly, whilst again, I didn't really think about it too much, I learned Norwegian. And I think like that was a huge assistance when it came to applying for jobs later on, because talking to 10-year-old kids, they don't judge you. I mean, you don't really do judge you, but but it's like a different type of judgment, right? Like I wasn't in a job interview. I was teaching them English, so it was like a two-way thing, I guess. And I got a lot of trust from the management of the school. Like I wasn't a teacher, I wasn't a qualified teacher, but maybe again that wouldn't happen. I'm not too sure, but it was a two-way thing. It went really well. So I did that for, I guess it was almost 6 years. And that really actually wasn't just language, but in terms of like the thematicals of your podcast, like learning Norwegian culture as well, it was like really huge.
Yeah.
I remember, gosh, yeah, it was in January, and I guess it would have been in February. They had like the annual ski day or like winteraktivitets day thing. And I'd done a lot of downhill skiing. That's why I moved to Norway, but I'd never been cross country skiing. And I remember, and I was like, it's easy. And I remember they tried to borrow some skis from a teacher there or something, and like the whole school laughed at me because obviously I couldn't do it, and I fell over, and it was. But it's small things like that. They were in the forest all day, and it was like, wow, this is incredible.
It's a great lifestyle.
Didn't have any proper like skiing, like cross country training. I looked like an idiot probably, but those small things were probably a good way of learning how Norwegians live.
It's quite a networking at that level. Networking has always been a theme on the podcast for how people get jobs here. It seems to be who you know is the way of managing to get in the door and things. So it's great to hear, even at the very beginning of your journey, it's like, oh, I know a great bit from Marbella to teach English.
Yeah, I didn't really have like
Yeah.
I guess like studying political science, it doesn't like directly lead you into
No.
a specific
Particularly in
job.
Norway, you don't speak Norwegian.
No, exactly. So I kind of accepted that, like, whilst maybe I had friends in the UK that were, studying to be doctors or architects, like that was their career path was really. I didn't really have that, but like I think I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher forever. 2 or 3 years, I went from sort of just learning Norwegian from speaking to kids at the school to actually then I started going to voksenopplæring to try and get some form of certification for learning Norwegian. And then actually I remember now because I was thinking about it when I was preparing for this that I was going to start the process of taking a pedagogisk education. So I took the Bennigan's test, as it was called then. I don't know if it's called that anymore.
I think it is actually.
Oh, it is, yeah. I actually failed it the first time. But then whilst, I was a day after finding out I failed it, I then got a job offer at my next job. So everything kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm very curious if you have like a defining moment in your career abroad that when you look back, you say, "Oh, yes, that was my defining moment."
I mean, it's probably more than just one. But I think in terms of like where I am now and the job I have and the company I'm working for and how I got there, it's definitely a moment when I was working in my previous job. I worked for the British Foreign Office. After I was a teacher, I actually managed to get a job within the political sphere, which was at the British
Wow.
Embassy in Oslo. So I was a political project manager there. So I worked there for 5 or 6 years as well, and got a lot of responsibility and got to take part in a lot of amazing projects. And a couple of them really helped define how I got the job I got at Oslo Co, which, yeah.
That's fantastic, actually, that
Yeah.
you also managed to get a job within your area of expertise, if I can call it like that.
Yeah, no, I guess I was quite patient, I think. I guess, again, I was quite happy in what I was doing. And I don't remember applying for like loads of jobs, to be honest, but this one came up. I remember. I guess I must have been actively looking somewhat. Like, I don't think I was using LinkedIn or anything back then, so it must have popped up somewhere. But yeah, I got that job, and when I got that job, like I knew straight away that the way the embassy was organized, like I was going to get a lot of opportunities and work on projects, which I was really lucky to do, and that opened up a lot of doors. And talking network, that opened up a different world, a completely new network, which led to me, I guess, get the job as Oslo Innovation Week lead, which was my job at Oslo Business Region.
It strikes me that when we came in, you talked about your first 5 years. One of the questions here, which I'm going to slightly tweak, is the community at that time, the expat community here at that time, well, instead of you being British, how much of a community was there here? Because a lot of expats that come here and work, they struggle to belong, and more often not, they just find their own, fellow community travelers, as it were.
Yeah.
How did that?
Yeah, I guess it was something to do with my age. lack of, no family mortgage. I was pretty free. I liked going out at weekends. Absolutely love football. Which, like, for me, that was a huge actually to meeting friends, like meeting Norwegians and going and watch Premier League or Sheffield Wednesday, which is my team. Occasionally, we're on television. Like that was I made a lot of friends with that. And playing football as well.
Yeah.
So football was actually really important, whether it was watching or playing. A lot of my friends now are through that. I never actively, I guess also when I worked at the school, there were a lot of young teachers there, which were similar sort of age as me. So I would just, when I go out with them, meet their friends. I never really actively wanted to be part of an expat network. I met some of them like at pubs watching football and stuff, but
You didn't
I
carry
don't,
on hanging out with them as a.
no, I mean, I mean, there are definitely
Yeah.
some. Like, I have some good friends that are English here, but it wasn't something that I like actively
I've got
sought after.
that makes a really interesting distinction for most of our guests are on a professional journey and they've established themselves in their probably mid-30s, late 30s. And so they come here at an age where if they do mix with other Norwegians, those other Norwegians haven't established
Completely different ballgame.
family.
Yeah. I think I was struggling. Like, I was really struggling. Like, now, wherever it was. I mean, especially like in my situation, you've got a young family, you're just a lot less social in that respect. Like, go out on the weekend, it's a special treat.
Yes, exactly.
Like, then you meet friends through like barlager, school and stuff. But then it's actually hard to like make those friendships really concrete because everyone's busy and a million things going on. But back there when I was 22, like, people, they went to work and then it was just, it's one time in the world. And so I think, obviously I didn't plan it that way, but like for me moving here at the age I did and the background I'm from in the UK and like it made it for me at least very easy.
Which I think,
Like,
by the way, it's like you said it just before we started that your story is one of actually it works and it's been working since you moved here, and not all stories have to be as great as yours, and some stories haven't been.
no,
But it's nice to hear that there is a reason for that. Yes, in whether it's age, which I think is actually a main factor, or stage of life, which is a main factor.
yeah, I think it's really important. I think also like the language thing. I think although like I remember, Norwegians fantastic at speaking English. Yeah. But I do remember when I actually like nailed Norwegian, and like I was equally good at understanding it, listening as I was talking or writing. That also did help in like a social setting as well. Because like if I was going to a party or a wedding, whatever, and there was like 95% Norwegians present, it was a nice feeling knowing that they didn't have to speak English because of me.
Yeah. Good.
Because it's not always like
They
even
want
if they speak English, it doesn't mean that they. Yeah, so I think that was also like a bit of the tipping point, which I think helped.
I'm going to go back to the questions now. Sorry.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
You've mentioned you've worked for 2 or 3 companies. What you clearly hired, those companies have hired or worked people who are not Norwegians. What advice, or what did you see that worked, or what advice would you give to companies that are hiring internationals based on your experience? Who say don't arrive for at 22 potentially, but what advice would you give them about understanding the challenges or opportunities of that?
So what advice would I give to internationals in terms of like Asian work culture?
The companies,
Yeah.
As in, so if your company's hiring international person,
Yeah.
what would you advise them to bear in mind in terms of not just how they work, but also the broad implications of working in Norway, the life?
I mean, the obvious advice is that they have like an excellent onboarding package, and that's always that's very for anybody that's recruiting in Norway, where to be honest, wherever you are in the world, like that you have like a very clear cultural onboarding package. But how you do that, I think you do it have better answer than I do. But I think a lot of it's about making people feel included and bring up language again. It's like, you shouldn't expect everybody to speak Norwegian from day one. So, if you are hiring internationals, give them the opportunity to learn Norwegian properly. Like, you're employing them because of their competencies and their skills, not just their languages. So like that should be, I think like that could be done better in Norway. I think there are still far too many. I see you can just see on Finn really like a quick turn, like a lot of big corporates in Norway that have their working language in English, but still require that you can speak Norwegian.
Yeah.
And it is important to understand the language, but I think like if you look at countries we're competing with, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, they have a bit more of a liberal viewpoint on how.
I'm glad you brought up
That's nice
job hunting language.
And then
A lot of people go through a process and they get through to the second or third round and then told, "Yeah, sorry, we actually need Norwegian."
Yeah.
What you knew that at the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
And even though the job ad is in English and it says you need to speak Norwegian, and you codify that's used in the workplace. So I think there's a change. I think that's changing. I think there is more of an openness to bring that in. I mean, great companies like Arca Solutions, for example, they're very good at making sure that international hires are not kept in a box.
Yeah.
So, and it's great to hear how they're doing that, actually. And other great companies. Yeah. So
and there's also like I think there's actually at Oslo Co now we're just about to we're basically being we're given the mandate from the City of Oslo to update the Oslo brand strategy. So we're just about to activate that later this week. And the reason I bring it up is that during this process of updating it, we've interviewed a lot of stakeholders both in Norway and abroad that have a connection to Oslo and work with Oslo as an international brand. And one thing that came up in a few times, which I thought was really interesting, not thought about, is that because obviously Norway is quite famous for having a very healthy work-life balance. People get to work at 8, they're gone by 4, people will leave to their hitter on a Thursday evening or a Friday lunchtime, and people will have respect. But from the outside, that can also be looked at as in Norwegians don't have ambition. Like, why are they just working 8 hours? Like, I want to come to Norway, build a career, I want to work 14 hours a week. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's quite an interesting way of looking at things as well. If I don't agree, I think you can be ambitious and still work just 8 hours.
Yeah,
it's not like a correlation between the two.
There's a nice stat actually that shows that Norwegians, from a workplace culture perspective, are the most productive in all of Europe.
Precisely.
Because they don't.
Yeah.
Because they embrace a more trust-based working environment, sort of meet everybody gets involved. It might take longer.
Yeah.
But the decisions that are made are more enduring and more.
So
it's interesting.
For example, if you are, let's say, if you're a 23-year-old moving here to work for Arc or something, could be any other company, and you're in that stage of life that I was in, at 23, and then you're at work, everyone's left by 4. That could be quite hard as well. Like in terms of like, what do you do the rest of the day? Like you've got to, if you're moving here completely alone in terms of integration, like you need to then go out and be active and finding a football team to play for or what activities outside of work.
I actually experienced that when I moved to Norway because I was the youngest in the office and I didn't have a family and I moved here alone. And then all my colleagues, 3, 4 o'clock, they were leaving home and they was like, what do you do afterwards? Because I was in a small city and I was like, okay, I will just walk the streets because in December I couldn't see people on the streets. I went to the shopping mall. It was beginning of December. And I counted in 2 hours, I've seen 20 people in a shopping mall. And I called my mom and it's like, there is nobody living here. I don't know what these people do, but it's so boring.
What city was this?
Sorry?
What city was this?
It was in Portugal.
Okay.
Yes. And then on a Saturday, I was like, I will just go on a restaurant and take myself out for a date. And it was full with people. And it's like, where did these people come from?
Everybody's inside in the winter.
Yes, but it was a shock, and I was actually asking my colleagues, what do you do after work? And I said, well, we have our families and we go home and we have kids and we have things to do. And I said, okay, but when you're young and you don't have kids, what do you do? We forgot, it's been so long. So it's definitely a challenge. I think we can move to a quick fire round.
Quick fire round.
Yeah.
Yes, we will have short questions for you, and we are expecting, if possible, a short answer. But if you want to elaborate, it's perfectly fine to do that. Okay.
Go for it.
What is the best thing about working abroad? But you've only ever worked abroad, I presume.
Yeah, I did have a few jobs.
What is the best thing about working abroad? Let's say working in Norway. Let's just give that a answer.
The best thing, work-life balance.
Most awkward cultural moment you experienced?
The most awkward. I still can't really accept macaroni and tomato on knäckebröd for lunch.
What's one local tradition that you love here?
One local tradition that I love. I don't know if it's a tradition, but I do love the whole cross-country skiing, quick lunch. I do love that.
Remote office or hybrid?
A hybrid, definitely. I prefer to be in the office.
Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Black coffee.
So Norwegian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coffee, you get it.
I already drink tea anymore now, but yeah, black filter coffee all the way.
Last question. What's your superpower?
What's my superpower? I think I think I'm very good at like talking to all sorts of people. Like I can relate to most people, I think.
That's an excellent superpower. Actually, what advice would you give to someone just starting their expat journey?
Don't hang out with too many expats. Nah.
I think that's good advice, though.
Yeah.
You're stuck in your bubble. I think that's actually good advice.
Yeah, I think you just have to get out of your comfort zone, whether it is like on the social side, the language side. There's a million different sides to that, but I think getting out of you got to push yourself.
And it's not easy whether you move to Norway or France or Germany or Italy or any
No,
other.
they've all got their challenges.
and opportunities, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think it's not you can't just think you can turn up in any of those countries and just ignore.
No, absolutely not. So I think, you have to respect the local culture. I think Norwegians in general and then they get a bit of a reputation for being sort of standoffish and quiet. But I think my experience is like if you take your time, and Norwegians are pretty open and happy to help.
Yeah. You said before, actually, just earlier, that patience is an important value here.
Yeah.
And I think it's true.
But I do also I guess patience is important, but I also know some people don't have the time. Like I was lucky in a stage of my life I had some years to be patient, but not everybody has that luxury.
I'm going to just follow up on that. Quite a few people that have started expat journeys and now called Oslo their home or Norway their home says it takes roughly 5 years for you to feel that you've landed, settled, and belong. And there's, for no other reason, it might be a language one, it might be a cultural one, it might be, okay, everything's adapted in both ways.
Yeah.
So it just seems like 5 years.
I think that sounds about right. Look, I never planned to stay there. I probably planned to be here for a year or so, and then,
Against your grandma's hitter and
yeah, exactly.
come back.
Yeah.
I actually have a follow-up question on that, because I agree we should go out and meet more Norwegians and maybe go outside of our expat bubble. But then many of the expats are finding very difficult to meet Norwegians because, what we were discussing before, if they already have a family, then they go and spend time with their families and they're not so social. Do you have any advice on what people could do? Where should they go in order to meet those Norwegians that are very nice to talk with?
It really depends, right? Like on what company you work for, like if you have children or not. Because obviously, like children, then it's the immediate through school, barnehage, clubs, that kind of stuff. But I think there's always like you can always, like I say, it's like getting out of the comfort zone. Like maybe you join a dancing club, or like you have there are activities for everybody out there, but you just have to throw yourself into them. I'm not saying it's easy. And I guess for me, although like I didn't speak Norwegian, didn't really know any Norwegians when I moved there, I guess like indirectly, my grandmother being Norwegian that will have like helped me align myself a little bit more with Norwegian culture than others that moved here completely fresh. And of course, it's down to personality as well. I'm fairly like outgoing. I like social, I like meeting people. Not everybody likes doing that. Yeah, so it's hard for me to give advice to people that are like that because people are different.
I think when you move abroad, you don't really have a choice. You kind of have to be an extrovert and find your group and meet people. Yes, yes. That's how you grow.
Yeah.
After all. We have to challenge you a little bit more before we close up. But I'm very curious to learn more what means belonging for you now that you have been living in a different country than the one you grew up in. Do you feel it changed or?
What does belonging mean to me? I guess it's a sense of comfort, and security, that you feel included. Like I remember, I don't know, like I find this hard because I have a Norwegian passport as well, and a British passport. And people, like I still see myself as being British, even though I've lived here for 17 years. I have Norwegian kids, have Norwegian passport. So like, having a Norwegian passport didn't change anything in terms of like making me feel more Norwegian or less.
Because you're already there.
Because I'm already there, and I'm already like I feel very like integrated.
Mm.
But I guess when you belong, like there has to be some sense of like, comfort within yourself that you feel like this feels natural.
Based on the discussion we had with another guest we had, Nicoletta, she was saying she moved from Romania to Portugal. She said that now after 3 years, she doesn't really feel like she belongs more in Romania or more in Portugal. Do you have that feeling that you don't really belong?
To those, I'll be there.
Nah, I feel like I definitely belong here. I was like 100%.
Nice.
Like I go. My parents live in Sheffield, where I'm from. I have a sister there. I have another sister that lives in the Netherlands, and I have lots of friends that live in the UK. But I love going back to Sheffield to visit friends and family. But I would find that really hard to move back there now because I've never really had a career in the UK. Like I really have a network. I have like a small group of friends there. So I definitely feel like I belong here more now.
I'm going to segue just to what you're doing now. Actually, we're going to learn a bit more about your current role and how, and clearly a lot of what you've talked about segues into what you're doing at Oslo Co. So it would be great just to have a quick, everything from your role as being a teacher to working at the embassy to now to Oslo Innovation, to now to Oslo Co. It sounds as though it's like a natural progression, but really it wasn't. But it had led to this. So it'd be great to, what are you looking? What are the opportunities at Oslo Co? What are you how are you looking to bring your experiences to help Oslo Co grow?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're in a very lucky position. So we recently, last year, we were given a new mandate by the city of Oslo. So this year we're in the process of putting all these building blocks into place to create what we are, which is the business development international profiling agency for the city of Oslo. So as of the 1st of August, we'll be 11 team members. We have a investment and growth team. We have a talent and visitors team. And we have communications and branding team. As well as a colleague who works with insights and data. So between us, we're all working very hard now on various different projects. One I mentioned, which is the updating of the Oslo brand strategy, which we're launching this Thursday with 50 really important stakeholders that profile Oslo internationally. And that's all about creating a common Oslo narrative so that when we go abroad, we're talking about Oslo in a similar way. It's a refreshingly different capital and talking about all the fantastic things that we have here in Oslo that we should be talking a bit louder about and together about. So that's one project. I meant Oslo Innovation Week was not my entrance into what was then Oslo Business Region, which is now Oslo Co. So I've ran Oslo Innovation Week for 6 years. The link back to that is that when I worked at the British Embassy, I worked a lot in connecting the Oslo and London startup ecosystems, which gave me a great introduction to the communities at Startup Lab and Mesh and Oslo Innovation Week, which led me there. Now my role with the start of Oslo Co, my roles has changed a bit. So now I'm leading partnerships for the whole company. We're completely reliant on working with the entire ecosystem, and because we're now working for the whole of the the business ecosystem and not just startups. It requires us having like a really formidable partnership structure. So that's where my sort of responsibilities lie, in addition to making sure that Oslo Innovation Week can continue to do what it has done for so many years, and creating a meeting place for Norwegian and international founders and investors.
It sounds like an incredible role. You're combining this shining light on innovation, like brand new,
Yeah.
but also looking at the historical past that leads to this amazing, can't live and work and be inspired by it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think it's great that you're in the role. I think it's fantastic. And you mentioned you're meeting with some interesting international people this week.
No.
To bring,
we're again, we're often the touch point for a lot of international businesses and investors that are interested in Oslo, which is 11 people, so we can't help everybody, but obviously we do try to help those that we think can create the most value for Oslo. So we're ready. We're really lucky to be able to work so international. Oslo has so much more to offer, so it's our job to lift it up so that we're competing with one of our neighbours in the Nordics, but also the rest of the Europe as well. Working with that.
Thank you so much for joining.
Great, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It was really nice to hear some things that it's a different perspective, basically, because all our previous guests were coming here in a different stage of their lives, but it's refreshing to hear some more positive way of moving to a new country and experiencing a new life. So thank you so much for that.
The key is come here.
Perfect.
Thank you. That was Tom sharing their story of building a career and life across borders.
We hope his experience reminded you that you're not alone, and that navigating life abroad is much about community, but also about courage.
If you're an international professional looking for support, or a company wanting to improve how you hire and support global talent,
you'll find links to candidate aid and culture flow in the show notes. We'd love to support your journey.
Don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone working in HR or living an international experience.
This is the Expert Equation, powered by Candidate Aid and Culture Flow. See you next time.